Good evening, Wargamers. Tonight I'm going to bring you a tutorial battle of Absolute Emperor. This will be the first tutorial battle that's found in the book, the Battle of Bumville. So this is primarily made up of three French divisions. They have 2 seasoned foot infantry and 1 unit of artillery. Meanwhile, the defenders, who in my case I have Russian models to represent them, in the book they're listed as British, but they are made up of 2 divisions, 2 infantry, 1 locked up in the town there, and 1 deploying just behind the forest. The scenario starts, the French have 4 elan points represented by that die on the hill, and the Russians have 3, represented by the die in the middle of their built-up area, which they're defending. The objective of this game is for the French to capture the town, Bumville, and the objective of the Russians is to hold the town for 8 turns. Alright, let's get into it. So, as the French have the higher alarm points, the first movement is the British are forced to move first. Ignore what these cards say. I'm just using them for the nice looks to it. Actually, yeah, we'll make this the first turn. Turn 1 is dawn, as the French march over the hill down towards Bumtown. The Russians have formed a column and are marching up into the wooded area, which will provide them cover. And the second unit will not move, they're continuing to hold the town. It then passes on over to the French. They're going to march up in column to try to meet them. They're not going to be able to progress any closer to each other in the column formation. It's mainly for quick movement, and basically your troops don't feel safe marching up when they have a good firing line on you. Now, the artillery piece can do 2 things a turn. It has started limbered, so I think it's going to move twice. Which I believe it marches 2, so twice is 4. So it lets it, let's actually shuffle it a bit more there. Allows it to keep pace with infantry in column. Then the last movement for the French will be their infantry directly towards Bumville. And with that, there is shooting. There is no shooting to be done. There is no charges to be done. There is no combat to be done. The turn goes over into hour 2 out of 8. Sunrise. probably a bit early for the armies to be engaging now, but oh well. First, the British are moved to go first. They're going to have to change into attack column to give themselves the most movement while still being so 3 is up to there. So they are still in cover. Seeing this, this also counts as cover. In the book it is a secondary forest. I thought I'd just make it a field to look nice. So I guess we go up to line. We'll just move it up when it's time. The time is now. So these boys can go up to 3. Which is about to there. Now let me check if... No, they're just outside each other's firing zones. I realise that's actually not good for my artillery. They can't actually see them. I think they'll be rolling with 0 because they only have partial, friendly unit in between and they're in cover. So because of that, I think they're going to have to move again 2 inches. Yeah. Then they're going to unlimber as their second action for the turn. Let me check that they are adequately far from the town. They are. Oh, actually. But if they're that close to the town, they have to begin to attack the objective, I believe, from my understanding of the rules. So I guess they'll have to do that. Are they within canister range at least? No, not that I think it matters against built-up areas. Okay. So these guys will drop down to attack column as they're forced to. And they will march 3 inches forward. Which, if my math is correct, will also put them... Oh no. So they're now within range of the town. So, now we go over to the shooting phase. Are we going to go left to right or right to left? Let's go right to left. The French get to determine this as they have the higher alarm. So right to left, since these weren't in range, it means the artillery is going to shoot at the town. They only get to roll 1 dice, and they are hitting on a 5 or a 6. They miss. Now the infantry are going to be shooting at each other from the town and along here. because they're in a built-up area, it forces any side in combat to only fight with 2 dice a side. So the blue dice will be for the French, and the red will be for the Russians. So they are looking for 5s or 6s. No, 4, 5, or 6, my bad. So that means the French get 2 hits on the Russians. And the Russians get 1 hit on the French. So I've got these little casualty markers for them, thanks to Peter Dennis and Peter Paper Boys. That's what all of these models are and most of the terrain. So the French here have taken 1 casualty. Which means they have 8 left. Whereas the Russians in the town took 2. That means that unit is halted and cannot countercharge, which to my knowledge isn't actually relevant here. So after all the shooting has happened, anyone who is fresh may declare a charge. The French are going to declare a charge into the town. Now, how this works is same as shooting. Both sides roll for D. So, the French get a further 2 hits on the town. Jesus. Which will halt them. Actually, no, it won't. Combat doesn't halt. So I won't do anything, but they're halfway to death already. Which is not good for turn 2 when the objective is to capture the town. This may be a very quick battle. Okay. So the British are forced to go first again. I guess they're going to flump out to line infantry, line formation. And probably scuttle on a bit, just a touch, up into combat range. Yeah, I would say that's comfortably combat range. And then there is nothing else for them actually to do. So, the French, once again, their movement, what are they going to do? They're not allowed to shoot into combat, so I would say they're probably free now to swivel around their cannon. Swiveling is free if they are unlimbered. So then shooting, let's go right to left. So they both shoot with 4 in line formation. They both lose 1 because they're both shooting at someone in cover. So they're both rolling 3. Looking for 4s or more, geez. Oops. So that is 2 hits for the French. The Russians are getting slaughtered here, apparently, which will halt that unit. However, whoa. Ignore that. Actually, oh no, there was a minor casualty. Some equipment got damaged in that cunning French attack. That's okay. Because they are partially in cover as well, their movement will cost, it halves movement. So they can't actually charge them, I don't believe. Actually, change my mind. They will charge. What? The cannon gets to shoot. Let me check if they're within canister range. They are. So they get to shoot 2, hitting on 5+, and they get to keep both, but they're both misses. So, the French are going to declare a charge. The Russians cannot countercharge because they are halted from taking 2 hits in that shooting. Okay, so the Russians are fighting with 4 against the French's 5. They're looking for 4s or more. That's cocked. So is that 2 for 2? Yeah, 2 hits each. So the French took a minor hit there, whereas the Russians are halfway through their life. 1 more hit and they will take combat penalties. So that ends this turn. We go back on over to the early morning. Turn 3 out of 8. British cannot move. French, I mean, they'll limber and move. No, I don't think they're going to actually be able to fit in there because they, yeah. Okay. So we just go straight to shooting. There is none, so straight to combat. Let's go left to right this time. So we'll start with the built-up area in the center. So that's just a 2v2, looking for 4s or more. Oh, 2 more hits from the French, which is going to decrease the combat effectiveness of the Russians in the town, and they're only 2 hits away from dying now. They took no hits in return, so that's very nice. So then we'll go over to this melee. So this is a fair 4v4. And once more, the Russians take 2 hits, and it also reduced down combat effectiveness. So, by mid-morning, the battle is raging, and the Russians are taking an absolute beating. Let's go left to right again. We'll start with the built-up area, and we will roll 2 aside. Now the red Russians are looking for 5s or more, and the blue French are looking for 4s. So luckily for the Russians, that's 1 hit apiece. This unit in the town only has 1 hit left before they are wiped from the map. Whereas the French only just took their 2nd hit. So then we'll go over to this combat. They are fighting 4v4s. Now, once again, the Russians are looking for 5s or more, the French are looking for 4s. The Russians are finally getting some hits in. So 2 against the French's 1. Once again, meaning the Russian unit over here is only on a single hit. And the French are quite comfortable. They've not really taken a whole lot of damage. So now I think late morning here on the 5th turn is where the Russian army is going to finally completely disintegrate. I find it quite unlikely either unit will fail to get one hit. So Russians 5s, French 4s. This is for the town. The Russian unit is destroyed after taking one last hit. Now, we will see the Russians roll a dice. They want to get 5 or more to see if they can safely save the colours of the company as they are leaving the town. They do not. So that means an alarm point gets transferred over to the French as the unit in the town is removed from the board. Now to the combat just at the woods there. Russians are rolling 5+, French are rolling 4s. So Russians get 2 hits in on the French's 1. So they ended up taking them about halfway through, but unfortunately the second Russian unit is wiped out. It's not necessary, but let's save the colours. 4, they don't. So French end up getting to max elan as the battered and humiliated and flat-footed Russians are forced to leave the field, giving the French Bumville.